Now let's move into the breezeway and take a look at what's going on in here. So what we see under here, under the breezeway, is there's leaves that have collected over time. Not a whole lot. She does a pretty good job of cleaning that up. There's some cardboard boxes. There's other combustible things that could be susceptible to embers. The way the roof is shaped, the roof is going to capture all the heat from anything that might be burning underneath it. Because of that heat being captured, it'll very quickly catch on fire. So up against the top of the roof where it's shaped like that and captures the heat, there's these large windows. Those windows are probably single pane glass, which means when they get hot, they're going to break, and that means the fire is going to get into the living space and at the very least create some significant smoke damage, if not help bring the house down. This side, I think it just goes to the outside, but the interior living space is right behind the windows on this side over here. Here we have a 2.5 gallon plastic gasoline container filled with gasoline, sitting in a cardboard box and wrapped in plastic. Literally something that couldn't be worse from an ember perspective. Embers could land in this box, ignite the box, very quickly ignite the gasoline. 2.5 gallons of gasoline under this would absolutely take the house down. Gasoline containers like this should be stored in a place where they can't be accessed by embers. So inside the garage is acceptable, but the best is in a garden shed or something like that that's well away from the house, so that if it does burn, it doesn't bring the house down. This is obviously for her generator. So there's probably fuel in the generator as well. If this started to burn, the generator started to burn, to have a significant fire in this space that would be pretty quickly out of control. We have a tree that's very, very close to the house, but the homeowner was very concerned because, of course, it's a beautiful old oak tree, and the last thing we want to do really is force a homeowner to tear down a beautiful oak tree. And so what she's done in this case is a really great job of trimming the oak tree back from the house, so the part that's close to the house is nothing but the trunks. And we also see in this, I believe this is an Engelmann oak, which is a protected species in Southern California as well. And then if we look down, we see aloe vera or variety of aloe vera plants. What's happened in this case, because it's underneath the tree, is all the leaves from the tree have collected over years inside the aloe. And because of the proximity of the plants to each other, it's impossible to get those leaves out of there. And so if there was an ember storm, this area with the aloe would smolder significantly. It's not going to be a big fire because there's not a lot of space for oxygen to get underneath the leaves, but it will certainly smolder and it will run all over this area. And if there's something nearby that it could catch on fire, like the straw, or could work its way into the cardboard over there, it could work its way into any number of areas. Let's talk for a second about her trees. The trees are trimmed up 6 feet from the ground, which is awesome. The point behind that is so if there's a ground fire underneath the trees, the fire doesn't translate up into the trees themselves. This is perfect. You can see that she's done this on all of her trees around the property. It also gives the homeowner plenty of room to be underneath, to mow, to keep the grass down, which is another component to keep the fire as low as possible in this particular case. Here we have about 5 really tall palm trees that are pretty close to the house. I'm not so concerned about the proximity of the palm trees to the house. The big issue with palm trees are the dead fronds. What happens is they're like Roman candles. The fronds will be ignited by the embers, and then as the wind blows, the fronds will either burn away or break loose, and they'll travel downwind, sometimes up to 2 miles. Out here in Valley Center, we have a specific local ordinance that requires the palm trees to be trimmed all the way up, all the dead fronds removed. It's extremely important that the homeowners understand that even a small amount of progress can make a huge difference in the outcome of a fire. If they have done just a tiny bit of work, they can make a big change in how the fire behaves around the house, how the fire impacts the structure, and whether they have a home to come back to if there's a big fire that moves through.